Speaker is John Hope. John just received his Competent Communicator and Competent Leadership designation. Dennis, you'll have to get him a new card. His next adventure will be taking on 10 projects from the Entertaining Speaker Manual. He will be speaking to project number 1 this morning, the entertaining speech. With it, he will attempt to entertain us by relating to a personal experience. The title of his speech, Love, Yes, Love, is a 6 to 8 minute speech. Please help me welcome John Hope. Love, Yes, Love!
Love. Oh, love. It'll make your heart race. It'll occupy your every thought and make you do things you normally wouldn't do. Well, maybe that's not love, that's infatuation. Infatuation will make you do the dumbest things, ignore any and all rationale, and do things that are flat out crazy. I have a list as long as my arm. The things that I did during the early days of my now wife's, Susan's, and my early relationship. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and most welcome guests, let me tell you about one of those times. It was February 2006. Susan and I were riding bicycles in a cycling club. On one of the rides, we realized we were both planning trips to Telluride at the same time. We decided right then and there we were going to caravan our vehicles and go together. Susan was going with her son, family, and friends. I was going with my 2 children and some friends. We stayed the first night in a small town called Ridgeway. It's where John Wayne's True Grit was filmed back in the 50s. The first day of skiing was absolutely fabulous. At the end of the day, while sitting in the hot tub, Susan did it. I overheard her telling a friend that she was getting a divorce. I had recently gone through my own divorce, and I kind of liked Susan. And that's when all common sense poured out of my right ear into the water in the hot tub. I couldn't sleep that night trying to think of the ways I was going to get myself into the front of her courting line. The next day, my kids and I moved to Telluride, and Susan stayed in Ridgeway. The next day of skiing was absolutely fabulous, wonderful. At the end of the day, Susan went to Ridgeway, I stayed in Telluride, but I could not stop thinking about Susan. So I did what every good father does, abandons their children, with friends of course, to make the drive to go have dinner with Susan. As I drove down the hill out of Telluride, the weather was absolutely horrible. Blizzard conditions, 0 visibility, thick as pea soup, snow falling at a rate of 6 inches per hour. I remember saying to myself, this is crazy, you should not be doing this. And then the weather cleared up, so I continued on. But 5 minutes later, the blizzard conditions came back and I was driving with no visibility. I remember saying to myself, there's nobody else on the road. I guess all the smart people must have stayed home. As I'm cresting a pass called the Delta Divide, weather cleared again. Road is covered with fresh snow, but very drivable. I was late, and I did what every smart person does. Speed up. As I was going around this sweeping turn, I felt it. The dreaded fishtail. Fishtail. Strange word, fishtail. Why do they call it fishtail? They should call it crap your pants or soil your drawers, because that's what you do. Then a voice inside my head said, dude, you were born in Canada. Driving in the snow was part of your DNA. And you're driving a lifted 4-wheel drive truck that can go through anything. So I steered into the turn. Lo and behold, corrected myself. I was now going straight. to the side of the road. Was I going to a cliff? Who knew? But there's a strange sense of calm when you have absolutely no control over the situation. I flew off the road, down the ravine. Trees and boulders whizzing by the left of me. Trees and boulders whizzing by the right of me. I missed every single one. Did I tell you my truck is white? Not a good color in a snowstorm at the bottom of a 50-foot ravine. So when I got to the bottom of the ravine, I powered up. And I went ripping down the bottom of the ravine, passing more boulders and ripping past trees. I got enough speed, and I cranked it back up. I powered up the ravine over this unbelievably rough terrain, rocks, snow, dirt flying everywhere. As I got to the top of the ravine, my momentum started to slow, but my tires kept grabbing, and I flew out into the middle of the road. And that's when I started to shake. The adrenaline rush was crazy. And that's when the keen sense of smell returned. What the heck was that? 5 minutes later, I arrived at Susan's place. I hopped out of the truck, shaking like a leaf, walked up to the door. Susan will, to this day, attest to my eyes were as big as saucers, and I was still shaking like a leaf, and I had this little whimper in my voice as I said, "Hi." Dinner was great. The trip home, thank goodness, was uneventful, but I smiled all the way home because I knew I had placed myself squarely at the front of Susan's courting line. You see, I'd risk my life to go see her. Love and infatuation will make you do some crazy things, but it invigorates you and makes you feel alive. In closing, let me leave you with this one thought. In every strong marriage, one of the key cornerstones is this. Men, women need to be pursued, regardless of how long you've been in that relationship. They need to be loved and they need to be cherished. They need to know that they're worth fighting for and that you are willing to go battle for them. Ladies, men are a lot simpler, but you probably already knew that. Men need to feel respect. We need to do things that allow us to be respected, but we need to feel respected. Love and respect, it sounds simple, but it's really more complicated than just that. Susan and I will be married 7 years this weekend. And this is one of the key principles in our relationship. We are going to that love shack called Napa Valley. And all I have to say is, I hope the neighbors have earplugs.